Coming up on Folks, how the courageous people of Louisiana are fighting the problem of illiteracy through Parents as Partners, a program in a Donaldsonville elementary school, and by teaching adults how to read through Reach and Teach. We also travel to the New Orleans Museum of Art to bring you the highlights of a recent exhibit honoring the late sculptor Frank Hayden, all in today's edition of Folks. Hello everyone and welcome to Folks. I'm Sonia Masingale. Today's program is very special as we look back to discover how some courageous people are working together to stop the ongoing crisis of illiteracy in the state of Louisiana. First, a trip to Donaldsonville, to a little school in the middle of sugarcane fields that's getting national attention for a program that teaches parents how to read to their children in the most effective way. Just a little school in the cane fields may be a good description of the location of Donaldsonville Elementary, but it doesn't begin to describe the innovative educational activities that take place here. Under the direction of professors and researchers from Louisiana State University, this school is making headlines by involving parents in their children's education.
You ever been on vacation before? You had lots of fun? Okay.
The concept is simple. Get children interested in books by getting their parents to read to them, but show the parents how to read and ask questions the way the teachers do in class. This keeps the learning pattern consistent at school and at home.
I simply asked the mothers. I turned on the video camera and I said, read, okay? And what I found was really quite revealing. One mother was a word caller, struggled very hard to read the page. One teenage mother in the middle of the videotape said to me, what do I do next? One mother was trying to read with two children and had a difficult time focusing the children's attention on the book. Another mother quickly read the book and said the end. And one mother, out of frustration, spanked her child. Read to your child appears to be a simple teacher directive, but it can be a very complex task for a parent who does not read normally to their children. For many low-income parents, reading is not a literacy event, and books are not a literacy artifact in their home. A review of the research by Vukolich revealed that Read to Your Child was by far the most frequently requested parent involvement activity. Joyce Epstein found similar results. Yet classroom teachers continue to tell parents to read to their children, assuming that they have a clear understanding of what we're talking about. When I moved to LSU, I continued.
This is Dr. Patricia Edwards, founder of Parents as Partners in Reading, presenting the model of her program to educators in Jackson, Mississippi. She is currently on leave from LSU while she continues her development of the reading program.
Parents have always been mentioned as big supporters and possible supporters of a child's education, and people, I mean, literature is full of that, you know, but I feel that we don't need any more papers on the fact that parents are important. What we need now are some specific strategies for involving certain groups of parents. Now, some parents buy all kinds of books prior to their child being born because they're getting prepared to be a parent. But I always say this, and I mean this honestly, that when a child is born, the doctor says, congratulations, you now have a 7-pound, 5-ounce baby boy or girl. The doctor does not tell you what to do with that kid. Some kids are in excellent hands and some kids are in terrible hands. Raising a child is very, very difficult. Parents automatically know how to feed the child. They know how to do all these other kinds of things. But growing a literate child is extremely important, and that's what we need to more focus on.
Why is reading to children so important?
Because it is a way of creating vocabulary and extending a child's language. If a child, in other words, the more you read, the more information you have. And the less you read, the less information you have. And children who do not read have difficulty writing too, because if you don't know, I mean, in other words, if you don't have any ideas, you can't write anything. And so reading is such a wonderful way of opening up a world for children and just living childhood, learning about fun things, And so that's why I really encourage parents to open up that option for their children.
It seems so simple. How does it work? Why does it work?
I think it works when you make people buy into it, and I use the term empowerment. You have to show people how things relate to each other. One of the things that I tried to show these mothers, I was not up here for a fun and game kind of thing, that what I was going to try to show them how to do was be involved with their children in a very positive way, and that they could do it. And I showed them how to do it. In other words, I didn't say read to your child and give them a lecture on that. I simply said, this is how we are going to do it. And I started out, and I didn't want to lose any mother. That's why I used all different kinds of books. And I think there is always a feeling of uneasiness on the part of some parents who are semi-literate or functionally literate or low literate, because they feel, well, I can't do this, because read to your child implies you have to read words. And when they found out that we could use the little books and the wordless picture books, they thought, well, that's reading. Of course it's reading, because it focuses on the skill of labeling, pointing, describing pictures. And that's how children, initially learn how to read. They would read by pictures. When I moved to LSU, I continued my research on parent-child book reading at Donaldsonville Elementary School. I asked kindergarten and first grade teachers, what do you mean when you say read to your child? They looked at me as if to say, well, you ought to know the answer to that. And similarly, I asked parents, what do you mean? Well, what do you think the teacher means when she says read to your child? Well, I found that the teachers and the parents had different views of read to your child. And I feel that parents and teachers' views of read to your child needs to be similar. While I am not saying that read to your child or reading to your child is the only way of becoming literate, it is the most school-preferred literacy event. Research has shown that a proliferation of low-income children come to school with reading well below their middle-class counterparts. In other words, a child who comes to school who is story literate, and that's a child who's been read to at home, will probably do better than a child who is story illiterate, a child who has not done well in school.
The parents meet at the school for about 2 hours a week. They talk about reading, read to each other, role play, and finally read to their children during the sessions so that they can critique themselves and each other. Even a parent who cannot read can read to a child by using pictures. The weekly sessions are relaxed and enjoyable. Regular attendance guarantees some level of success. Being there is half the battle. Although the program was originally designed to serve low socioeconomic status mothers, they have attracted parents from all levels of income, and fathers too.
It helps in that it makes it more interesting to Brooke. She always wants us to read to her now, and she enjoys it. I understand, how to make it interesting to her. We talk about the book more than just read it to her. We stop at the different pages, and I ask her questions about it, and she's able to answer them instead of just reading to her and putting the book down. We get to spend a lot more time together. We set aside a time at night before she goes to bed, and that's our time to be together and to read to her. It shows her that we're interested, too.
Everybody thinks they know how to read, but with this program here, it's a lot of different in how to read to a kid. I can pick up a newspaper, I can read to myself, or different other, but to make it interesting for a 5-year-old to know how to understand, by going to this program, now I know you got different techniques changing your voice. I mean, I can talk, be happy, I can be mad, or be sad. They tell me how to do those things, and it's like a game, and you're playing with them, but yet you're educating them also. Trains don't leave. When I first came over here, my wife told me, well, you go since I'll be off on Wednesdays. I said, well, I'll try, and I'll tell her what's going on. And I had about maybe 15, 30, all, I guess, mothers. And I was the only father in there. So I really felt pretty uncomfortable when I first got there, because I said, well, all the fathers at, well. Now I'm looking forward to going every Wednesday now, because I feel at ease now, and there's a lot of things I'm learning, and I relate it back at home, and it helps myself and also my little girl. We get a lot of books with the librarian. She's very, very friendly. Miss Tarterich is the name, and she let us check out a lot of books, and if I read maybe 2 of them, and my wife, she reads the remainder of them, and sometimes 3 of us as a group, she would play a part and I play a part, and we really have a blast.
Hopefully, programs such as Parents as Partners will spread in Louisiana schools to help wipe out illiteracy at its roots. But Louisiana has a more immediate problem with illiterate adults.
I'm here today to talk to you about a problem that concerns me very much, and whether we realize it or not, it's a problem that affects us all. It's a problem that literally can enslave and humiliate a person trying to live in today's world. It's a problem that blocks our way as we struggle in our homes, as we do in our state, to better our financial position. It does indeed block our way. You all know that I'm speaking about the problem of illiteracy. I'm talking about the fact that too many of our friends and neighbors are unable to do very, very simple things, such as looking up a telephone number in the telephone directory. They can't read the directions off the side of a medicine bottle. They can't fill out a job application form, or perhaps they can't read the Bible. It can be a very heartbreaking story.
Louisiana's First Lady, Patty Romer, a supporter of the Donaldsonville Project, is working to help end illiteracy in Louisiana.
I chose literacy because I wanted to choose a project that I could really see a difference with my involvement. Literacy is something that we can see a beginning and an end to the problem. There are 350,000 illiterates in Louisiana. That's the highest percentage of any state in Louisiana, and that's a good reason. But I'd really like to see that number reduced by the year 2000 to 25,000 people. It would be a dream come true, and it can be done.
What do you feel that you can do to change the illiteracy rate as First Lady?
Well, I think the biggest thing I can do is attract attention to the problem. Many people don't realize that we have such a severe problem, and I feel like I can get community members, business members, individuals involved, and together we can work toward alleviating this high literacy rate.
The problem of illiteracy in adults can be heartbreaking, but it is one ailment that can be cured. Programs such as the one you're about to see are helping to turn illiteracy around. Here's a profile of Reach and Teach in action. The Opelousas Council on Aging Senior Citizen Center is housed in this modest storefront building in downtown Opelousas. It is here in this unassuming building that a kind of miracle has taken place again and again. Some of the women in this class used to make an X when signing their name, but now they can read books and write letters if they wish as a result of the Reach and Teach classes they attend here. Grace Aver-Guidry has been a Reach and Teach tutor for 11 years. She often goes beyond the prescribed Reach and Teach manuals with her students, securing school books from the school board, often helping her students to achieve their GED diplomas.
We start with some of them like third grade level or something, and we've had students to go up to almost like the 10th grade. And we have had students to finish high school. We get the books from the school board after we use our books, all of our levels. Then we get books from the school board. We go on with the material, and, with everything, with the regular course.
Well, it's not just reading that you teach.
No, we teach math, we teach English. We have lots of math, like geometry, algebra. So we tutor in the jail, too. So we have a lot of levels, because these people here, some of them with us a long time, they read the school board books now. They can master our books.
Guidry takes a great deal of care with her students. Here she explains why she believes Reach and Teach is so successful.
One-to-one, they want one person, we tutor one person.
Reach and Teach is by no means limited to senior citizens. This is the community home in Jennings, Louisiana, where there is another Reach and Teach program in action. Volunteer tutors Joyce Moss and Gail Jones are teaching the mentally retarded women who live in this group home to read and write. Sometimes their ability to learn surprises the students themselves. While we were taping that day, one of the students here said, "I have been to 2 schools before and neither one taught me to read, but now I am learning."
I read about it in the local newspaper in town, and I've been thinking about doing some volunteer work, And this seemed such perfect, except for the time, because it's like 4 hours a week in your time, and this is the perfect volunteer work, and I thought it'd be very enrichment to teach people to read and write.
It sounded interesting to start with, and secondly, I love to read, and I find it so hard to, just the idea that there's people out there that don't know or have a lot of trouble reading, and I thought, well, just to pass a little bit of it along, if nothing else, would be good. And it's turned out to be pretty much of a joy, a lot more than I thought it would be.
Progress for these students may be a little slower than usual, but they do progress, and that's the whole point of Reach and Teach.
It's a little bit more difficult because they catch on a little slower, a lot slower, but they're as anxious as any others to learn. And a lot of times when they do catch on to something, they're very proud of themselves, just like any other student. It is harder because it takes longer for them to catch it. But once they catch it, most of the time, they've got it for a long time. They forget it less easier. That doesn't sound right, but that's true. They have a harder time forgetting it once they learn it, but they have a harder time learning it.
When I first came here, I wasn't really expecting a lot of expectation from these girls. But they really surprised me. They've done way over than what I really gave them credit for accomplishing since I've been here about a couple of months, and they have come a long way. I really didn't expect to get that far.
A little further north of Jennings, there is yet another Reach and Teach program in action. Elton, Louisiana is best described as an agricultural hamlet. Much of the state's rice crops are raised here. At one time before machinery replaced many jobs on these rice farms, the children of the laborers were held back from school, contributing to a high rate of illiteracy, but that's changing now. This class is held at the Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church. These students have already received their first-level reading certificate from the school board, even though they have only been studying for a few months. James Carrier has worked in the rice industry most of his life. He is now learning to read and write at 42 years of age.
Well, I couldn't read or write. I haven't been to school but 2 weeks in my life. And I couldn't write my name or write my address or nothing. You know, I just couldn't read. But since the 7th of October, actually 128 days ago, that's kind of like 3 weeks of school, you know, after you figure it out to weeks. And I'm able to write my name and write my addresses and write little notes to my friends and able to help my kids in school now, you know, their homeworks. And I really am learning. I have learned to read a lot because I couldn't read at all. And in just a little length of time, now I can do pretty good.
Carrier and his wife have adopted 7 children. He has found new joy in being able to sign his children's homework and report cards.
I mean, it was kind of, I've got 7 adopted kids, 6, 8, 12, 14, and 15, and one at Southern, he's 20, he's going to college. And now I'm able to help them, you know, with their homework. Now I can sign the papers and, you know, like their homework. And it's really, I mean, I'm proud of myself.
Leo Francis has only been involved with Reach and Teach for a few weeks, but his progress is astounding. He is 59 years old with no formal schooling. His tutor recruited him for Reach and Teach.
First of all, I knew he could not read.
How did you know?
Through Sunday school, the students are asked to read verses during the lesson, and he would come in and listen, but he did not read because he couldn't. So I asked him one day. I was kind of hesitant about it, but then I said, well, he can only say, no, I don't think so, or sure. So I decided to stop him in front of my house one day, and I asked him, and he said, sure.
I don't know for sure how I felt. It made me feel small, made me feel kind of bad, then it made me feel glad that she thought enough of me to ask me to try to teach me how to read. all them things. So really, I don't know how I felt at the moment, you know. But now I'm proud that you made me feel good enough about myself to come up here.
Jack is finding Francis a very capable student.
Very aggressive. He is very positive person about his work. He wants to be sure that it's done correctly, and I like that. I don't have to ask him twice if he has homework. He has it in. He'll tell me, oh, I knew I didn't do that right, or I know you're going to get on my time because I couldn't get this right. But he likes it, and he wants to do. He wants to know how to learn how to read. But he is a very, very good student.
The first thing I would love to read is some Bible verse. I would just hope that someday I could stand right here and open the Sunday school, or read the Bible verse at prayer meeting. I would love that, and I love sport. I have to keep up with that with television. I watch television. I'm a good listener of television.
All of the Reach and Teach students we spoke with express a newly formed sense of self-esteem and steely determination to learn.
If you got it in you to learn, you can do it. There's no such thing that you can't. I know now there's no such thing that you can't. You can. But you know, I advise anybody that don't know how to read, they need to get in this program. That's about one of the best. And you can learn, because, man, I've been working around here for 42 years. Well, I've been in school 2 weeks in my life. And if I can learn at 42, anybody can do it.
Reach and Teach is still in action statewide, but struggling along with a limited budget. For more information about how you can help, contact Earl Taylor, State Director of Reach and Teach, at Post Office Box 9397, Southern University Branch Post Office, Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70813, or call 504-771-5763. We close today's program with a visit to the New Orleans Museum of Art for the highlights of an exhibit honoring the late Louisiana sculptor Frank Hayden, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.